Coming to you live from the shadow of the big house, it's IT4U. Tips and tricks on ITS tools, products, services, and more with your host, Jean Mackey. So, IT4U, a series of interactive webinars brought to you by Information and Technology Services. If you're having any audio or video problems during the live webinar, just let us know in the chat pod. If you're watching the captioned recording, check in the description and you'll see a link to a Google Doc with some resources. If you do need an accommodation to participate in a live session, just give us a little bit of a heads up. And you know what's coming next month is using business objects with student data. But today, we've got Brian Kors here from ITS talking about how Gmail got a makeover. Turning it over to Brian.
Thanks, Jean. Excellent. So, first of all, thanks for having me here today. Wanted to talk about Gmail Makeover, or a new Gmail interface that is launching in the near future, and give some ideas on what new features are available, and talk about the new look and just the general interface of Gmail to come. So we are part of, we've selected to be a part of the early adopter program, or the EAP, that Google is now offering people to be able to try new versions of their products or services. If you're a commercial gmail.com user, you have the ability to do this already. For us here at University of Michigan, we have the ability to opt into this, and we have done so because we want to make sure that everyone is able to get ahead of the curve and to kick the tires and try this new interface out before it becomes the permanent one down the road. And we'll talk about that time frame later in the presentation. And also, one of the big things about the EAP is to help Google give them feedback as they are putting the finishing touches on the interface. So in that respect. So one of the things that people ask is, how do I get started? You can right now decide to try out the new interface. To do that, you go to the settings menu in the upper left-hand corner of your Gmail web session. Click on the gear and you'll see try the new University of Michigan mail. Once you do that, it will convert you over to the new interface, and you will see and start to use the new version of Gmail that is going to be released. As I mentioned, feedback is important. You can submit feedback directly to Google right from the gear icon. And so that will help them finalize the interface before it's officially released. And then, obviously we always love to have feedback here at U of M. And if there are particular issues you're experiencing related to University of Michigan, please let us know. The best way to do that is to contact the ITS Service Center, and they'll connect you with our team. So let's talk about the new look. You'll see that it looks, the focus remains on the content. In fact, there is a bit more white space than there was previously. It's vibrant, but yet simple. Colors play into things a lot in regard to what's highlighted in the left menu bar. Crisp layout, and then it's actually customizable to your needs, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. What they're really trying to do with this new update to the Gmail interface is really give it some cross-platform uniformity. So you'll see that the look and feel looks a lot like what the mobile apps look like on both iOS and Android. And this unified design helps streamline expectations of people using their platform. And it also helps to keep things focused in respect that you're experiencing the same visual interface in both the mobile world and the desktop world. And so, as I mentioned before, you have different views that you can select. So when you first switch over to the new Gmail interface, it will send you to the default view. So there's the default view, there's the comfortable view, and then there's the compact view. With the default view in particular, attachments are much more visible per email message within the inbox itself, and I'll be showing you that in a bit. Something that's new, the left sidebar, you can actually collapse all the way to the left. And so that actually helps you free up more space to actually look at your content and engage with the messages that you need to deal with without any of that extra clutter, which is nice. And then now there's also now a right sidebar. And so the image that you see on your screen now, that is after you have clicked on one of those options on the right. The right sidebar will actually slide over from the right, and you have the option to look at calendar. So you can quickly reference, create, or edit Google Calendar invites. If you use Google Keep to capture your ideas or notes in that place, there's a really quick link to that. And then also there are Google Tasks. And so if you want to keep a simple to-do list that's really for your use, you can do that. And there actually is a new Google Tasks mobile app for both iOS and Android. So if you put something in here, you'll very easily see it on your mobile device, all on one to-do system. There are also some new automated features that are part of the new Gmail interface. And so what we'll do is we'll talk about those a bit. Some of them might seem familiar and some will be new. So Smart Reply is something that has been in the Gmail mobile app for quite some time. And what they've done is they have decided to bring that to the web. So what this looks like is you have, it looks and it suggests 3 different quick replies to an email that you might receive. So that helps you get through your inbox a bit more quickly and be able to focus on the things that truly you need to focus on and that deserve more attention. This is something that's new. It's called nudging. And so what this does is it can remind you to follow up on messages that you've received that you may not have replied to yet. It also encourages you to reply to important mail that you might have sent and not received a reply from. So it kind of encourages you to answer mails and also encourages you to follow up on messages that may not have had you may not have received a response. Some people like this feature, some people don't. You can go into the Google settings or the Gmail settings and turn that off if you so choose. But you'll see that it shows up really prominently with orange text kind of on the far right of the actual inbox entries. So they're very easy to see and discern. There are some other additional new features outside of the general look and feel of the new Gmail interface that we wanted to talk about. So what you'll notice is in the inbox, as you hover over a message, on the far right, you will see a series of buttons. So you'll see a button for archive, a button for delete, a button for either mark as unread or mark as read, and a new button for snooze. And we'll talk about that. But basically, all you have to do, instead of trying to click on a message and then click on what you want to do at the top of the inbox, you can very easily message by message just hover over and do what you need to do, saving you some time there. So snooze, this is a new feature that they've brought to Gmail. And if you're not familiar with snooze, basically this allows you to hide a message until a future date. And so if I know that Jean's not going to be in the office until tomorrow, or if it's a message that I don't need to address until tomorrow, I can easily click on snooze. It will vanish from the inbox, and then it will reappear at the select time that you tell it you want to snooze it until, and then it will show up back in your inbox again with that bright orange indicator on the far right. And I believe we have a question.
Jean wants to know, why can't the auto reply options be used when replying all?
That's a good question. I have not experienced that, but Jim Caldwell's here.
I suspect it has to do with the fact that there's an artificial intelligence developing those auto replies based on your interface based on the previous emails between you and that individual. So when it's actually a group, it can't customize those replies that it's giving you based on previous communications.
Okay. And another question. Candy wants to know if we're using the Active Inbox add-on, will this transfer?
I believe so. Yes, I know some folks that are using that with their accounts, and they're using it just fine. There might be some adjustments you need to make, but that would be something that you would contact Active Inbox about in that respect.
And then Jeff says you can option click on reply text to reply to all.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Google tends to iterate rather quickly.
Yeah.
And so please keep in mind that what we tell you today is current state of today, but they change pretty quickly, and particularly when they're developing new interfaces. So thank you for your questions. So snooze, yep, that's a great new feature. And again, you can choose to snooze to the next day, the next week, or a time of your own choosing that isn't in that default list of things. And we'll show that a bit as well. Offline access is a lot more easy to get to now. So basically, you can turn on offline mail and then select how many days of mail that you want to have access to. And then what it does is it stores those number of days of mail on your machine. So if you're on a train or on a boat, someplace where you don't have network access, you're still able to get to your email, work with it, and then once you have a network connection back, it will take care of everything. So a lot of people are asking, when is this going to happen? With Calendar, it was a pretty quick timeline. And quite honestly, we were expecting a longer timeline, but they are going to start putting this into place. The new interface is expected to be launched in early July of 2018. So what does that mean? That means that the early adopter program when it's officially launched, will come to an end. 2 months after Google officially launches new Gmail, they will automatically switch everyone to the new interface. However, and that's going to be in September, but you still have the option at that point to go back to classic Gmail for 1 more month. And then 3 months total after launch, sometime in October, everyone will permanently switch to the new Gmail, and you won't have the ability to use the classic interface anymore. As I kind of said before, Google could change their estimated timeline at any time, but we'll be sure to keep you informed. This timeline is a lot quicker than what we had expected, but it's great that we have the opportunity to kick the tires and to work with this interface before it goes live and experience what this new interface looks like. You have a question?
And there's a comment. I use Gmail for my personal email, and it just switched today.
Okay. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we give folks a really good length of time to try this out before it becomes something that is standard. And so, as I said before, it's great to get ahead of the curve, particularly with something like Gmail and the web interface that you use every day here at your work at the University of Michigan. So I was going to do a little demo. It's great to show screen grabs, but it might be better to show you actually what this thing looks like. If you haven't started using the new Gmail interface and you want to follow along, as we said, if you go into the upper corner, you can switch over, and I will actually show that as well. So what you'll see is I am in a classic, what we're calling classic Gmail interface. This is probably the Gmail interface that you know and have used for a long, long time. And if I wanted to switch over, you go over here to the upper right to settings. You click here and you say, try the new University of Michigan mail. What it'll do is it will give you a welcome. It will allow you to choose the view. We're recommending to keep it at default for now. You can always choose comfortable or compact. But as you see, the default view you'll be able to really easily see attachments if they are associated with a particular message. And so here you'll see this is basically what it looks like compared to the old Gmail. It's very familiar still, but it's definitely a lot cleaner in that respect. To compress or move the left menu away to see more content, you basically click right here. It will contract the window to the left, and so you'll see you have a really nice space to look at different messages and interact with them. If you hover over, it will auto expand to the right, and you'll see that you have all your various categories as well as your tags that you can access here. For your tags, you have the ability here to click and quickly do things like label color, and as you were able to do in the previous interface, and show and hide, also add sub-labels, all of that stuff that you've been doing already. Chat is down below, and you can grow or expand this window as need be in that respect. Currently, the chat is the same as it is in the current Gmail interface. And the open sessions are in the chat interface as they always have been. Go ahead and close that out. Over here on the right, this is the new right sidebar. So if you click on calendar, you'll have access to your calendar. So it is a simplified version of the calendar available to you. Yes, we have a question.
Comment. Candy says, following along, and it just had me allow access again to active inbox. All set.
Okay, great. Good to know. So what you'll see here is a quick, glance at the current day of your calendar. This is a test account, so we don't have any things in here. But if I wanted to add something, I can quickly click here. We'll say this is the IT4U. Starts at 9, ends at 10. And I'll click save, and you'll see that it shows up right there. So this is quite nice. Keep, if you have things within Keep, again, this is a place that you can keep notes within the Google ecosphere. So it works on Android devices, iPhone, iPad, the web, and there's a Chrome extension. Here you can quickly say whatever you want as far as a note goes. Click done. And there it is. Yes, we have a question.
Another comment. One thing I didn't like when I tried the default view was how it pulls out images and signature lines as attachments, making the view look more cluttered than it needs to be.
Okay. And then finally here we have tasks. And so again, this is a very simple to-do list that you can start to use just for yourself, really. And then if you click, it will compress back to the right side. Yes, there was a question.
Yes, this is actually a question. Mary says, I use Inbox Google, and a feature it has is reminders. Does this new Gmail have that option?
So you can use tasks or reminders, either or, but not both. in that respect. Jim, I don't know if you have some additional context on how that's working right now.
And actually, it's a little bit different with the new interface because you can actually use both tasks and reminders. You can use tasks through the sidebar, and you can have your calendar set up to use reminders. The reminders do not show up on the sidebar calendar, so that would be one of the disadvantages to using reminders. Tasks also do not show up on the sidebar calendar. So, but Google is constantly working on it, and at some point that may change.
Rochelle wants to know, are your rules for filtering emails preserved when you switch over?
Yes, definitely. Those are preserved. And I can actually show a little bit on how to create filters. It's actually it has a new look is what I'll say, but all that functionality is still there. So here is an example of a message that has an attachment associated right with it. And so you'll notice that I was able to just click on that image without actually having to open the message. And so it's like, wow, this is the old school Gmail logo, which was apparently developed the day before the original Gmail came out. You can still click on the message. It shows down below. Here you have the ability to archive, report spam, trash, mark as read or unread. This is the snooze feature. So if I wanted to snooze this, you can do that there, and then you can snooze until later today, tomorrow, this weekend, next week, or someday. You can pick a date and time specific if you want to do that. So I'll snooze this till Monday at 8 a.m. You'll see that it's out of my inbox now. I don't see it there, but you can always click here to see what messages that you've snoozed, that you're waiting for them to reappear. And you'll also notice that in the search bar, you can use a search query of in:"snoozed, and then search for whatever you would like to do, and it will show you what matches. So
Joe says, I don't have the snooze icon.
interesting. Definitely, yeah. What I would say is if you're seeing issues with that, perhaps try to log out, log back in, or refresh the browser and see if that shows up. If it still doesn't, send us a note to the ITS Service Center, and we can take a look at that for you.
Mary says, I don't see it on mine either.
Interesting.
Yeah. And neither does Jamie. Okay. We'll follow up.
Yeah, definitely. Search here. So again, that's pretty much the same as it was previously. So if I want to do a search for, old school, it will show up. And here we're able to then go back and say, okay, I want to create a filter. So that behavior is very much the same as it used to be. Create a new label. I will nest under new Gmail, create, apply, create filter, and you'll see that that message will have that applied to it. It should. Question?
Hema says, does Google have a feature that allows you to draft an email and send it at a specific date and time in the future automatically as specified?
So they do not yet currently within Gmail itself. The compose window, you'll see that it is just a standard send. So there's no delayed send feature with the new Gmail interface. And as I said, on the contrary, the snooze will help you at least move stuff to a different time if you need that. Obviously to deal with, not necessarily to pre-schedule a mail to go out. Okay. What you'll see also here are those hover over buttons. So just by moving over these messages, you will see the ability to archive, delete, either mark as read or unread, or to snooze. Images show up in line. So this is the new Google Jamboard physical kiosk that goes along with the Jamboard service, which is also now available, and that we will be doing a demo in June. If you're interested in that, it's a collaborative whiteboard. Send us a note to ITS Service Center, and we can talk with you about that as well. Gear is under the gear where you're able to click to change your display density. So if you don't want the attachments to show up right away, you can say comfortable. That will streamline it even more. And really that combined with contracting the window to the left gives you a really big space to see the messages and to be able to interact and engage with them. What you will notice, so you can configure your inbox. So you have the ability to do, what tabs you want to enable. If you're looking to customize that some more, you have the ability to, for your settings in general. Again, this is very similar to what it was like before, but this gives you access to all of the various things. Signature, if you want to put that in. What you will notice is there are no labs. So labs have been moved to what's called advanced. And so a fair amount of the things that were in labs for Gmail are now listed under advanced. And so canned responses, multiple inboxes, right side chat, all of that stuff. We have actually been recommending folks to keep chat on the left side because of that new right side sidebar that can pop out. That does take up a significant amount of space. If you find that things are too cluttered, if you're using right side chat, switch it back to the left and that might help out. Offline. So this is not available for this account. We'll need to figure that out. But this here is where you would click to turn on offline access. And that's what this window looks like here.
So it seems like in general people aren't finding the snooze button, so I said we'll follow up.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I'm not quite sure why that's the case.
There could be a delay after switching in before all of the features appear.
Yeah.
Okay.
There have been some cases of that happening in the recent past.
Yeah. So I would say if you still aren't seeing the snooze 24 hours from now, if you just turned on new Gmail, give it a shot tomorrow. If you're still seeing issues, let us know. We can definitely take a look at that. So the settings really aren't that much different. All of your filters are here. It is the same interface. It just looks a little cleaner. You'll notice that it appears that they're using a different font now too. To keep consistent with their mobile and just branding in general at Google. If you have offline access turned on, there will be an icon right up here next to the grid that you're able to get to all the other pieces of Google G Suite. And that indicator will show you whether or not your email has been synced and if it's available for offline access in that respect. One other subtle thing you'll notice is they've actually taken the institutional logo and moved it from the left all the way over here to the right. So that's where the University of Michigan branding will show up in that respect.
Question. Sherry says, my boomerang functions came up instantly, but now they're gone. Will they come back?
Again, that's something, potentially, that's something that if you are experiencing issues with, you want to get in touch with Boomerang about in that respect. Okay. That's about it for the demo. In regard to, well, we can show quick replies. So, here, this may not have quick replies because this account was just created earlier within the past day or so. But the idea behind those would be that they would show up right here. So it would be like, thank you, or great, or thank you for sending this to me. And as Jim said, it kind of starts to create those as you start using the new Gmail interface. Cool. Any other questions that folks might have about this? Okay. So again, as we said, the time frame that we're looking at here is this will officially launch again in early July. They will consider it to be, final product. So 2 months after that, expect to have folks switched over automatically. You can still go back for a month, but then I would say sometime in October, count on this changing for good. And having it be the actual interface that everyone will start to use. Yes, you have a question.
Where do we go to change from default to comfortable or compact?
Yes, so to do that, you will go to the gear in the upper right-hand corner under settings. Let me get back to the inbox here. You'll go to display density. And here is where you can select default, comfortable, or compact. Compact, again, it's you can see really compresses things down, gets rid of a fair amount of the white space if you have a smaller screen and want to see more, or if you have a larger display that has a higher resolution or can fit more stuff on it. The comfortable or default are a good way to go. Okay. Well, we're always here to talk about this. If you have any questions, certainly let us know. I would say if you aren't, again, like I said, if you're not seeing snooze within 24 hours, definitely pop us a note to the ITS Service Center. We'll have our team take a look at it. I want to thank everyone for coming. It looks like we have one more question.
Diana says, in Google Tasks, can you still move a task to a future date by pressing Control down?
Let's see. Oh. Tasks, sorry. Tasks or keep?
Tasks.
Okay.
Move to a future date. There's one more question.
Doesn't look like there's something natively. It looks actually, yeah, so you could right click on a task and that will quickly either allow you to delete, add a date, add a subtask if you need to, or move to another list. So you'll see that I'm looking at my tasks right now. I could create a new list. New stuff. Go back to my tasks, and I could say, move to another list. It will ask which one, add a date, 19th.
And then if you want to change the date,
just click on it, and it again pops up pretty cleanly and consistently with the rest of the interface over Google in its entirety with the things that they're doing. So.
And a couple more things.
Yes.
Hannah says, do we still see the paperclip for all attachments, or do we always have to set to default view to see the attachments?
So in default, you'll see the attachments right here in regard to, if they're attached to the mail. If you switch back, I'm going to close out tasks here. If I switch back over to settings, display density, we go to comfortable, for example. What you'll notice is if I go to all mail, you'll see here we are. Interesting. There's an attachment icon here in the header. I'm going to unsnooze this guy. So you will see that in the comfortable or compact view, you'll notice that I can't hover over it because the buttons show up, but you'll see right there that attachment icon is listed there.
Claudette says, my attachments still show up with paperclip. How can they display as yours do?
Again, that would be in the default. And if that isn't taking effect for you now, again, I would say if you're not seeing that within the next 24 hours, pop us a note and we can help investigate that and why that might be the case.
When you say pop us a note, do you mean open an incident
Yes.
with the service
Yes.
center?
Sorry, ITS Service Center, and we'll get that over to our team and have that taken a look at.
Any questions?
And it should also be noted the ITS Service Center has had access to this for quite a while, so
Yes.
they are pretty good at answering the questions on it too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for your time. And again, we do encourage folks to start to try this out, to kick the tires. You have the option to go back right now. You won't in July. So if there are things that you encounter after switching over that you need an assistance with, let us know in regard to things certainly specifically to University of Michigan, and also don't hesitate to send feedback to Google directly. They do appreciate that, and they are, as I said, still in the tail end of developing this, with the July launch date looming in the near future. So, thank you.
All right. All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jim. All right, so please do respond to the polls. I'm going to send you the recording when we get it captioned. We'll send you a doc with some resource link. We'll follow up on some of those unanswered questions. And we're going to stop the recording now.